Marcus Rivera adjusted his tie one final time as he approached the gleaming steel towers of Sterling Industries. The security uniform felt foreign after years of casual construction work, but Sophia needed health insurance, and this job promised steady pay with benefits. His military bearing remained intact despite the civilian clothes, shoulders squared and eyes alert as he scanned the bustling lobby. The elevator doors opened on the 32nd floor, revealing marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. A woman in an elegant navy suit stood waiting, her auburn hair pulled back in a professional chignon. She extended her hand with a warm smile that reached her green eyes. "You must be the new bodyguard James recommended," she said, her voice carrying the confidence of someone accustomed to command. "I am Victoria Sterling. I apologize for the short notice, but James came down with pneumonia yesterday." Marcus hesitated, his hand halfway to hers. The confusion lasted only a moment before her expectant expression prompted him to complete the handshake. Her grip was firm, businesslike. "Marcus," he replied simply, deciding not to correct the misunderstanding just yet. Something in her demeanor suggested she needed this protection detail, and his instincts told him to assess the situation first. "Excellent. We have a board meeting in 20 minutes, then lunch with the Jakarta investors. I trust James briefed you on the recent security concerns?" Victoria's tone carried an undertone of worry that her composed exterior couldn't quite mask. "Before we dive deeper into this story, drop a comment and let us know what state you're watching from. Maybe workplace mix-ups like this are common where you're from." Marcus nodded, his mind racing through protocols from his military police days. The boardroom would need clear sight lines and controlled access points. He'd have to improvise without knowing the specific threats she mentioned. "I'll need a few minutes to assess the meeting space," he said, falling in a step beside Victoria as she moved down the hallway. Her heels clicked against the marble with purposeful rhythm. "Of course. Rick Patterson, our head of security, should have briefed you, but he's been less than cooperative lately." Victoria's jaw tightened slightly. "There have been some hostile takeover attempts, and yesterday we received another threatening email about the Jakarta deal." They passed through double doors into a conference room dominated by a massive mahogany table. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a spectacular city view, but Marcus immediately noted the vulnerability. Too many angles, too much exposure. He moved to the windows, checking sight lines to neighboring buildings. "The blinds should be drawn during the meeting," he suggested, his voice carrying quiet authority. "And I'd recommend positioning your chair with your back to the interior wall." Victoria watched him work, something shifting in her expression. There was competence in his movements, a professional assessment that impressed her. Most of the security personnel she'd encountered were either intimidating brutes or corporate yes-men. Marcus possessed a different quality entirely, calm confidence without arrogance. "You're very thorough," she observed, genuine appreciation in her voice. James chose well. Marcus felt the weight of the deception, but her obvious relief at feeling protected kept him silent. Whatever had prompted the mix-up, she clearly needed someone capable in her corner. The board members filed into the conference room, their expensive suits and calculating expressions creating an atmosphere of corporate warfare. Marcus positioned himself near the wall, maintaining clear views of both Victoria and the entrances. His presence drew curious glances, but no one questioned his authority. Rick Patterson arrived last, his bulk filling the doorway as he scanned the room with obvious irritation. His eyes locked on Marcus with immediate hostility. "Who's the new guy?" Rick's voice carried across the room, disrupting the pre-meeting conversations. "I wasn't informed about additional security personnel." Victoria looked up from her notes, her tone remaining professional but firm. "This is Marcus, James's replacement while he recovers. I trust that's not a problem." Rick's jaw worked silently, clearly wanting to challenge the arrangement, but unable to do so publicly without appearing incompetent. He took his position by the opposite wall, radiating resentment. The meeting commenced with quarterly reports and strategic discussions. Marcus found himself genuinely interested despite his unauthorized presence. Victoria commanded the room, with impressive expertise, fielding challenges and directing conversations with natural leadership. She wasn't just inheriting a company, she was actively building something. During a heated exchange about the Jakarta expansion, Marcus noticed Rick's attention wasn't on the room's security, but on his phone, texting rapidly. The head of security's distraction troubled Marcus more than any external threat. A protective instinct, honed by years of military service and fatherhood, told him something wasn't right. When Victoria caught his eye across the room, Marcus gave her a subtle nod of reassurance. Her grateful smile made the deception worthwhile. After the meeting, Victoria led Marcus to her corner office, gesturing toward the leather chairs facing her desk. The space reflected her personality, professional yet warm, with family photos sharing space alongside business awards. Coffee, she offered, moving toward an elegant espresso machine. That went better than expected, thanks to your presence. Rick has been increasingly difficult since the takeover rumors started. Marcus accepted gratefully, noting how she prepared it herself rather than calling an assistant. He seems more concerned with his phone than security protocols. You noticed that too. Victoria settled into the chair across from him, her corporate mask slipping slightly. I've been questioning his loyalty lately. There have been too many coincidences, too many leaks about our confidential meetings. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Victoria's expression darkened as she read it. Sophia's school called. There's been an incident. Marcus's blood ran cold. Sophia? Your daughter, right? The message says she's in the nurse's office. Victoria's confusion was evident. James mentioned you had a little girl. The deception crumbled in that moment. Marcus stood quickly, his protective instincts overriding everything else. I have to go. My daughter needs me. Of course, family comes first. Victoria rose too, her business training taking over despite her obvious puzzlement. Take my car and drive her. James can cover things here when he returns. Marcus paused at the door, meeting her eyes directly. Victoria, I need to tell you something important. There's been a misunderstanding about who I am. But Sophia's welfare trumped everything else, and he was already moving toward the elevator. Marcus found Sophia sitting in the nurse's office with a bruised cheek and tear-stained face, her small backpack clutched protectively against her chest. The sight made his heart clench with familiar parental anguish. Daddy, she whispered, launching herself into his arms. Tommy said mean things about you again. He said you're just a janitor, and that's why we live in the apartment. Marcus held her close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo while his mind raced. The irony wasn't lost on him, pretending to be someone important while his own daughter faced mockery for his humble circumstances. What did you tell Tommy? He asked gently, examining her bruised cheek with careful fingers. I told him you're a hero, that you protect people and keep them safe. Sophia's voice grew stronger. He pushed me down and said heroes don't clean toilets. The nurse approached with an ice pack, her expression sympathetic. She defended you quite fiercely, Mr. Rivera. The other boys' parents have been called as well. Marcus accepted the ice pack, pressing it gently to Sophia's cheek. You never have to fight my battles, sweetheart. My job doesn't define my worth, and it certainly doesn't define yours. But I want people to know you're important, Sophia insisted, her dark eyes so much like his own. You saved that lady from the bad men when we lived near the base. You help everyone. Victoria's driver had waited outside, and through the window, Marcus saw her black sedan. The contrast between worlds had never felt sharper. Here sat his daughter, proud of a father she saw as heroic, while he'd spent the morning pretending to be someone else entirely. Victoria's driver, Robert, helped Marcus settle Sophia into the back seat before returning to Sterling Industries. The ride gave Marcus time to think about the inevitable conversation awaiting him. Sophia dozed against his shoulder, exhausted from the emotional morning. Back at the office, Victoria paced her corner suite, pieces of a puzzle slowly forming in her mind. James hadn't mentioned recommending anyone named Marcus. Her actual bodyguard was methodical about briefings, yet this morning's protector had improvised with remarkable skill. She called James's number, reaching his wife instead. Margaret, How is he feeling? Much better, thank you. The fever broke this morning. Margaret's voice carried relief. He's been worried about leaving you unprotected. Did the temp agency send someone suitable? Victoria's stomach dropped. Temp agency? The security company James contacted. He was very specific about military background and discreet protection experience. The call ended with Victoria staring at her phone in dawning realization. Marcus wasn't her bodyguard. He was someone else entirely, someone who'd stepped into a role that wasn't his and performed it flawlessly. Her assistant knocked and entered. Ms. Sterling, your 2 o'clock appointment is here. Cancel it, Victoria said quietly, and hold all calls until Marcus returns. She moved to the window, watching the city below while processing this revelation. The man who'd protected her, who'd shown such natural competence and quiet strength, had been improvising the entire time. The thought should have alarmed her, but instead, she found herself impressed by his quick thinking and genuine protective instincts. More troubling was her growing disappointment that their connection had been built on mistaken identity. Marcus returned to Sterling Industries with Sophia's hand clasped firmly in his. The afternoon security shift recognized him from the morning, waving them through without question. Sophia's eyes widened at the marble lobby and gleaming elevators. "Is this where you work now, Daddy?" she asked, her voice echoing in the vast space. "It's complicated, sweetheart," Marcus replied, knowing the conversation with Victoria would determine everything. The elevator ride to the 32nd floor felt endless. Sophia pressed her nose against the glass, watching the city shrink below them. When the doors opened, Victoria stood waiting, her expression unreadable. "You came back," she said simply, her eyes moving between Marcus and the small girl beside him. "I owed you an explanation." Marcus squeezed Sophia's hand reassuringly. "Victoria, this is my daughter Sophia. Sophia, this is Ms. Sterling." Sophia stepped forward with the grave courtesy of childhood, extending her small hand. "Daddy says you're very important and very smart." Victoria knelt to Sophia's eye level, accepting the handshake with unexpected gentleness. "Your daddy is pretty smart too. He's been taking very good care of me today." "He takes care of everyone," Sophia announced proudly. "That's what heroes do." The simple declaration hung in the air between them. Victoria rose slowly, meeting Marcus's eyes with new understanding. "My office." Marcus nodded, guiding Sophia toward the corner suite. Through the glass walls, he could see Rick Patterson watching their return with obvious suspicion. The head of security's jaw tightened as he reached for his phone again, his movements sharp with barely contained anger. Victoria settled Sophia in the reading corner of her office with a children's book from her collection, then faced Marcus across her desk. The afternoon light, streaming through the windows, caught the tension in both their faces. "I know you're not my bodyguard," Victoria said quietly, her voice carrying no accusation, only curiosity. "James never recommended anyone named Marcus." Marcus exhaled slowly, relief mixing with apprehension. "I'm security for this building. Lower level, overnight shift mostly. When you mistook me for your protection detail this morning, I should have corrected you immediately. But you didn't." Victoria leaned forward, studying his face. "Why? You seemed worried, maybe even scared. My instincts told me you needed protection, and I knew I could provide it." Marcus glanced towards Sophia, who was absorbed in her book. "I've been military police, worked private security. The skills translate." Victoria absorbed this information, processing the morning's events through this new lens. "Everything you did today, the threat assessment, the meeting security, reading Rick's behavior, that was all genuine expertise." "Yes, but I had no right to deceive you. You protected me when you had no obligation to do so." Victoria's voice softened. "That says more about your character than any credentials could." A sharp knock interrupted them. Rick Patterson entered without waiting for permission, his face flushed with anger. "Victoria, we need to talk about your security arrangements. There's been a serious breach of protocol." Sophia looked up from her book, sensing the tension. Marcus stepped slightly forward, his protective instincts activating once again. What breach? Victoria's voice carried steel as she faced Rick Patterson. Marcus has been exemplary in his duties today. Rick's face darkened. This man has no clearance for executive protection. He's building maintenance, overnight cleaning crew. I've been trying to reach you all day about the Jakarta meeting security. You were too busy with your phone during the board meeting to focus on actual security threats, Marcus observed calmly, his military bearing evident. You don't know what you're talking about. Rick snapped, but his defensive posture betrayed him. Victoria studied Rick's reaction carefully. Marcus, what exactly did you observe during the meeting? Your head of security spent more time texting than monitoring the room. He was distracted during critical discussions about the Jakarta deal. The same deal you mentioned receiving threats about. Marcus kept his tone professional. Someone leaked your meeting schedule, and someone's been feeding information to outside parties. Sophia watched from her corner, her young face serious as she observed the adult tension. Rick stepped closer, his bulk intimidating. I don't have to listen to accusations from some janitor playing dress-up. Actually, you do, Victoria said quietly, her executive authority filling the room. Marcus has shown more professional competence in one day than you've shown in months. The question is whether you've been incompetent or deliberately negligent. Rick's phone buzzed again. Instinctively, he reached for it, then caught himself. The gesture wasn't lost on anyone in the room. That's the third call you've received since entering this office, Marcus noted. Expecting important news about today's meetings? Victoria's intercom buzzed urgently. Her assistant's voice carried barely controlled panic. Ms. Sterling, the Jakarta investors are here early for tomorrow's meeting. They're requesting immediate access to discuss urgent developments. Rick's face went pale. That's impossible. The meeting isn't until tomorrow afternoon. Unless someone told him to come today, Marcus said, pieces clicking into place. Someone who knew about the schedule change discussed in this morning's board meeting. Victoria's eyes hardened as understanding dawned. Rick, empty your pockets. Phone included. You can't be serious. I'm head of security for this company. Not anymore. Victoria's voice carried absolute finality. Security, escort Mr. Patterson out. Marcus, I need you to handle the Jakarta situation while I call the authorities. Rick made a desperate grab for Victoria, but Marcus intercepted smoothly, using the man's momentum to guide him firmly toward the door. Years of military training made the movement look effortless. Daddy, Sophia called out, alarmed by the sudden violence. It's okay, sweetheart, Marcus assured her, maintaining control of Rick with professional competence. Just helping solve a problem. Building security arrived within minutes, escorting Rick from the premises while he protested his innocence. His phone, left behind in the struggle, buzzed continuously with messages from unknown numbers. Victoria stood by her window, watching Rick's departure. I trusted him with company secrets for 2 years. Trust is earned through actions, not just time, Marcus said quietly. Today showed both our true characters. Sofia approached Victoria's shady. Is my daddy really going to help you with the important meeting? Victoria knelt beside Sophia, her corporate facade replaced by genuine warmth. Your daddy saved my company today. He's going to help me with something very important. The Jakarta investors entered the conference room an hour later, their expressions tense with urgency. Marcus positioned himself strategically, noting their nervous glances and whispered conversations. Something about their behavior felt off, too aggressive for legitimate business partners. Mr. Tanaka, gentlemen, Victoria began, taking her seat at the head of the table. I understand you have concerns about tomorrow's presentation. The lead investor, a sharp-faced man in an expensive suit, leaned forward aggressively. Ms. Sterling, we've received disturbing information about Sterling Industries' financial stability. We demand immediate access to your proprietary manufacturing processes as security for our investment. Marcus stepped closer, recognizing the tactic. This wasn't negotiation, it was corporate extortion using inside information that Rick had provided. I'm afraid that information is not available for review today, Victoria replied calmly, though Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders. Then perhaps we should reconsider our partnership entirely, Tanaka threatened, his associates nodding in unison. We have other options, including acquiring Sterling Industries directly through more favorable terms. The hostile takeover threat hung in the air. Marcus moved to Victoria's side, his presence conveying quiet strength and protection. Sophia watched from the corner, her young eyes wide but trusting. "Gentlemen," Victoria said, standing with renewed confidence, "I believe this meeting is concluded. My security will escort you out." Marcus stepped forward, his military bearing unmistakable. "The lady asked you to leave." The investors left quickly under Marcus's steady gaze, their hostile takeover plans crumbling without Rick's inside information. Victoria sagged into her chair as the conference room doors closed, the day's emotional toll finally showing. "How did you know they were lying?" she asked, genuine admiration in her voice. "Body language, timing, the nature of their demands. Military training teaches you to read hostile intentions." Marcus moved to close the blinds, creating privacy for their conversation. They came expecting easy victory because someone promised them insider advantage. Sophia approached Victoria's chair, offering her book with childish generosity. "This helps me feel better when I'm scared." Victoria accepted the gift with a soft smile, her eyes meeting Marcus's over Sophia's head. "Thank you, sweetheart. Your daddy has been taking very good care of me today." "That's what he does," Sophia said simply. "He protects people because it's right." 2 weeks later, Marcus adjusted his new tie in the reflection of Sterling Industries' elevator doors. The head of security position came with better pay, health benefits, and most importantly, respect for his expertise rather than dismissal of his circumstances. Victoria waited in the lobby, no longer needing protection, but choosing his company. Sophia skipped between them, proud of her father's transformation from overnight cleaner to corporate executive. "Ready for the real Jakarta meeting?" Victoria asked, slipping her hand into his. Marcus squeezed gently, watching their reflection in the polished doors. Sometimes being mistaken for someone else helps you discover who you really were all along. If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let us know your favorite part, character, or if you've witnessed similar hidden talents in someone you know.